Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming 2022 United States gubernatorial elections. Republicans currently hold 28 seats to the Democrats 22. Before I start, I'd just like to say if you like my content, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. With all that said, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the states that are generally considered safe for each party. I have them here. For the Democrats, it's only California, Hawaii, and Illinois. And safe Republican states include Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Iowa, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, and Vermont. This starts us with 19 Republican seats and just 9 Democrat seats. Next, I'm going to do what I did in my Senate video and fill in solid states that aren't part of the consensus, starting with Colorado. Jared Polis is a very popular governor, and he's been even governing more moderately this past year or so. Colorado is also becoming a very blue state, so I'm calling Colorado solid D. Next up is the state of Texas. Greg Abbott is facing Beto O'Rourke, and Beto doesn't really stand a chance. Beto managed to come close in 2018 against Ted Cruz in the Senate race because it was a blue wave year, and he was able to come off as a moderate, but he just doesn't have that appeal anymore. When he was running for president, he promised to be tough on guns, and that message just doesn't resonate in Texas. Abbott's going to win by at least 10. The next solid Republican state is Ohio. Ohio is a state that has been trending right for the last decade or so, and Mike DeWine is the Republican incumbent, and although he does face criticism from his own party, he's going to win easily. Next is Florida. Ron DeSantis has become a big name in the last couple years, and he consistently has approval ratings in the 50s or higher. In almost every poll he is beating Charlie Crist. He's going to win by a double-digit margin. Next state is Maryland, which is going to be solid D. They have a Republican governor right now, Larry Hogan, but he's term limited and was very moderate. Maryland might be closer than it is on the presidential level, but the Democrats probably go win by 15 or so. New York is kind of a unique situation. The race was kind of shaken up by the resignation of Andrew Cuomo last August. Kathy Hochul took over, and she has a low approval rating, but there's been some polling showing Republican challenger Lee Zeldin within a couple points. But at the end of the day, it is still New York. The undecideds are probably going to break for Hochul, and for that reason, I'm calling New York solid Democrat. Massachusetts is a similar case to Maryland. It's a deep blue state with a moderate Republican governor who's term limited, and Republicans don't really have anyone that can win. It's solid Democrat. Rhode Island is also solid Democrat. There isn't really much out of this race yet, and I guess it could be close, but I'm keeping it solid Democrat for now. The final solid state is New Hampshire. Chris Sununu is a very popular governor, and a lot of people thought he was going to run for Senate, but he decided to run for re-election, and he's going to win really easily. It's solid Republican. Now that we've covered the solid states, I'm going to talk about the likely states, of which there are many. Incumbent Mike Dunleavy is facing 2 challengers in Alaska, a Democratic challenger and former Governor Bill Walker running as an independent. I previously had this race as solid Republican, but after Mary Peltola's win in Alaska, which I actually did a video about, I decided to move this race to likely Republican. It could still be a solid Dunleavy win, but for now it's likely. The next likely state is Minnesota, which is going to be likely Democrat. Tim Walz is popular, and although Minnesota can be close, it's definitely more favorable to the Democrats. Despite the national environment favoring Republicans right now, Walz is probably going to win by around 7 points. The final likely state is Connecticut, which is going to be likely Democrat. This race was close last time, with Ned Lamont only winning by 3 points in a blue wave year. I do think he's going to do better this time, as most polling has had him with a decent lead. With those out of the way, we can get into the toss-up states. I'm going to go west to east, starting with Oregon. Kate Brown is unpopular as governor, and although she is term limited, this might cause Republicans to do better in the race. Oregon was relatively close in 2016 and 2018, and it's just one of those states that's more centrist on the governor level. Polling suggests it could be close, but I think Tina Kotek is narrowly favored, so I'm calling it lean Democrat. In Nevada, Democrat Steve Sisolak was elected by a 4-point margin in 2018. I touched on this more in my Senate video, but the Democratic Party in Nevada is in shambles. Sisolak has the advantage of incumbency, but I think Joe Lombardo is a strong candidate. On 538, Sisolak is up narrowly, and on RCP, Lombardo is up narrowly, so this one is a true toss-up, but things have been looking better for Democrats recently nationwide, so I'm calling Nevada tilt Democrat. In Arizona, Republican Kari Lake is going up against Democrat Katie Hobbs. Lake is running a pretty good campaign, and Hobbs did have a pretty wide lead, but that's narrowed a lot recently. I think Lake's going to do better than I expected. I think she's going to pull off the win, so I'm calling Arizona lean Republican. Next up is New Mexico. New Mexico is an interesting state. Hispanic voters trending right may cause this state to become more Republican in the coming years. The Democrat is the incumbent, Michelle Lujan Grisham, and she's not super popular, and she's facing Mark Ronchetti, who was able to outperform Trump in New Mexico in 2020 by around 4 points. He only lost in the Senate race by 6. I would be surprised if he won, but I do think it's going to be close, so I'm calling New Mexico lean Democrat. Next up is the state of Kansas. Incumbent Democrat Laura Kelly was able to win in 2018 due to several factors, including Democrat-favored environment and facing weak Republican Chris Kobach. She's going to do a lot better than Democrats usually do in Kansas for sure, but I think Republicans probably have the edge this time around, so I'm calling Kansas lean Republican. Next is the state of Wisconsin. Tony Evers was able to narrowly win in 2018, but I think he's going to lose this time. Wisconsin's a state that I think is going to mostly favor Republicans in the future, and Johnson is going to win the Senate seat relatively easily. I think a lot of people thought that Tim Michels winning this primary was the end of the Republicans' chances in this race, but he's been increasing in the polls recently, and polling in Wisconsin tends to favor Democrats, and Michels is barely behind. So I think he's going to pull off a narrow victory, so I'm calling Wisconsin tilt Republican. In the state of Michigan, incumbent Governor Gretchen Whitmer is probably going to win. There was a huge issue with Republicans and ballot access, and a lot of the candidates that might have been able to beat her were disqualified from the race. Due to this, a lot of predictions had Michigan as solid Democrat for a while, but it seems like everyone realizes it's going to be closer than initially thought. Republican nominee Tudor Dixon is gaining on her pretty quickly, and although I don't think she's favored, I do think it's going to be close, so I'm rating Michigan as lean Democrat. In the state of Georgia, we're seeing a rematch of 2018 as Governor Brian Kemp is facing Stacey Abrams. Abrams definitely played a part in Biden's win in the state in 2020, but I don't think she's that great of a candidate to run statewide. She doesn't have as much moderate appeal as Brian Kemp does. However, there are a lot of Republicans that are unhappy with Kemp due to how he handled the aftermath of the 2020 election, but still, I think Kemp is going to win by around 5 points, so I'm calling Georgia lean Republican. Next up is Pennsylvania. Democrat Josh Shapiro is facing Republican Doug Mastriano. The consensus is that Shapiro is going to win by around 6 to 9 points, but I think he's being a little bit overestimated. Mastriano is running a better campaign than initially thought, and this election is going to be closer than people think. I touched on this in my Senate video, but I also think he's going to be helped by Oz in the suburban areas of the state, and he is going to help Oz in the rurals. Polling also additionally showed Oz outperforming Mastriano, but now it seems like Mastriano might do better than Oz. Still, I think Shapiro is running a pretty good campaign, and he's holding a steady lead in the polls, so I'm calling Pennsylvania lean Democrat. Finally, we have the state of Maine. Incumbent Democrat Janet Mills is running against former Republican Governor Paul LePage. LePage was able to win in 2010 and 2014 due to there being more than 2 Democrats in each election, so votes were split among the Democrats. It was also a red wave year. That is not all the case this year, and he's also facing an incumbent. Mills is probably going to win by a little more than 4 or 5, so I'm rating Maine as lean Democrat. With that, I have each party breaking even, Republicans having 28 seats and Democrats having 22, as Republicans are going to flip Kansas and Wisconsin, and Democrats are going to gain Massachusetts and Maryland. I'll try to update this monthly leading up to the election just like the Senate, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel to keep up with my predictions. Also, comment what you think about the predictions, what you agree with and disagree with, because I'd love to hear it. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.